I'm both pleased and honored to be today with you, to be invited as a guest speaker for this Army Science Conference. As previously said, I'm the R&T Director for DGA, that is the French DoD procurement agency. As non-native English speaker, I hope that you will forgive my poor English. Hopefully, my presentation has been scheduled after such a good lunch that it will increase your patience and decrease your attention for the mistakes. Next slide. I've structured my presentation in three main parts. First, an introduction on the organization, the general context, and the figures of defense R&T in France. Then, some example of research and technology projects within the Army area of interest. And, at least, an example of capability-driven project called Scorpion. Next slide, please. This slide presents the general organization of French DoD and DGA within this organization. Our defense minister is assisted by the Joint Chief of Staff, who is in charge of general organization of the armed forces, capability-related choices, preparation, and deployments. By the Chief Executive of the DGA, my boss, in charge of research, military equipment development, technical and industrial policies, and the General Secretary for Administration, who is in charge of human resources and finance. One point that is very important within our DoD is the fact that jointness is now the key driver for our organization. Since 2005, a new role has been given to the Joint Chief of Staff. He has the overall responsibility for capability consistency, force preparation, founding choices, and international relations. On the acquisition side, my agency, DGA, was already born joint more than 40 years ago. Therefore, we always have and we still keep jointness as a priority goal for every system we develop. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates DGA organization. I will not comment it in detail, but I just want to put emphasis on 2 points linked with research and technology question. The first one, could you press the green button, please, the first one? Yes. We have developed a capability approach that has led to the identification of 5 so-called force systems, which are listed on this slide. A force system is a coherent set of capabilities working together towards a major operational function. As you may notice, all these capabilities are joined by essence. That means that every research and technology effort, every program, has to fit in this global picture and have to serve the purpose of developing capabilities managed at the force system structure level. It means, more precisely, that the research and technology effort is managed at the joint level and that we try to optimize the global effort. For example, for each study, targeting an army requirement, for example, we always keep in mind to look for Navy or Air Force other applications if possible. Can you come back, please? Okay. The second point concerning our organization, now the second green button, okay, is the fact that we have divided the technical domains related to our concern in 11 fields that are shown on this slide. That means that research and technology organization, strategy, and launching of studies are defined and structured among these 11 fields. And as you can see, you have 3 architecture areas who are devoted to Army, Navy, and Air Force, but all other fields are joined by essence. Can you come back now? Thank you. Next slide, please. What are our research and technology tools? Since 1996, DGA is no longer carrying out research within its own laboratory. Two exceptions. For crypto and biological research, we still have labs and we do our own research. Now, DGA is in charge of orientation and contracting research and technology among the various research and technology providers. That means that we prepare the future program and we have to make sure that the defense technology industrial base will be there to manufacture and deliver the equipment for such programs. Defense research and technology must also anticipate scientific evolutions and identify technologies having a good potential for operational applications. DGA has a portfolio of around 500 research programs, ranging from applied research to technological demonstrators. Each program consists of one or many contracts to industry, SMEs, or academic labs. We also found institutes on specific programs dedicated to defense. And we also have contracts with a few regional industrial clusters whose activity have dual-use applications. In the upstream sector of the research and technology, I mean the low TRL, we conduct exploratory research and innovative projects around 40 per year. We want to develop concepts or ideas, and we also grant theses around 150 per year, and postdoc scientific funds. Next slide, please. Some figures on our investment in defense research and technology. The navy blue sector represents the assets for the defense research and technology. We will spend around 800 million euros this year, the main part being contracted to the industry or to labs, as I mentioned earlier. In addition to this, the French DoD funds other research and technology activities. The Atomic Energy Authority, that is called CEA, it's for study related with deterrence. We also fund the civilian research and technology budget, mainly for the space domain that has dual-use applications. The total amount is around 1.45 billion euros per year. In the frame of the European Defence Agency, all member states have accepted to provide their R&T expenditures in order to be able to enable the agency to publish strategic indicators and targets. According to these figures, France's spending represents almost 1/3 of the European research and technology for defense effort. Next slide, please. On this chart, you can see how our research and technology effort is distributed among the three main R&T blocks according to TRL scale. This is not a firm objective we pursue, but it's a result we have noticed during the last years. We think that this balance is a good compromise. The main part is related to technological studies. That's in order to master technological risks before subsequent technology insertions in the programs. The technological demonstrators are also very important to de-risk functions integrations and system integrations on platforms. You can see here on the picture one example of our key demonstrator, that is an UCAV that has been led by Dassault System, that is the company that is a prime contractor, and you got the picture on the slide. It's called Program Neuron. Concerning the basic research, I mean the low TRL, we can't only rely on the civilian effort. We need to anticipate scientific evolution, and we have to work on specific technology having a potential for future military applications. Next slide. I will now give you a few examples of research and technology projects within the Army area of interest. Next slide. I take the opportunity of this slide to introduce an organization we have created in 2005. It's called Mission for Research and Scientific Innovation. Its role is to better connect the defense research with academia and universities. 8 scientific domains have been defined to coordinate our work on scientific innovation. The strategic goals, according to each domain, are described in a document that is called the Scientific Strategy Document. This document summarizes our scientific objectives and presents the way we intend to work. At the end of my presentation, you will find a website address, and if you click on this address, you can get this document, the English version of this document, of course. You can see here on this chart, relative to the Future Soldier project, how the 8 scientific domains will contribute to define scientific topics that could be of interest for future needs. For example, from the electronics domain, terahertz technologies can be investigated for vision in all conditions and threat detections. Specific procedures have been defined to quickly award contracts to labs, academia, SMEs in order to foster innovation. Next slide. Here is an example of a program we are about to launch on nanotechnologies. Through this program, we aim at increasing autonomy and protection for soldiers. This confirms the French interest for nanotechnologies in these specific fields. The aim of this program is to coordinate and support the actions of the various actors, labs, universities, SMEs, and industry. We plan to invest around 40–60 million euros over a 5-year period, and we are, of course, open to collaborative actions with other nations. We plan to develop our effort in 4 main areas: functional and smart textile, threat sensors integration, energy microsources, and telemedicine. I have also to add that we want to address environmental and ethics aspects of nanotechnologies. Next, please. What you can see here are roadmaps and the forecasted milestone we expect to reach in each area. We might not address all these items, but this is what we have in mind up to now. As a first practical example, we want to produce in 18 months a prototype of a flexible armor. We want to demonstrate through this project the different areas of interest that could provide improvement for the soldiers and illustrate how nanotechnology can provide improvement for the soldiers' protection, for the sources of energy reduction, etc., etc. Next slide. The next example concerns robotics. Like most of the nations in the world, we have carried out in the past various studies on robotics. It's a very funny and exciting domain for engineers. They very often speculate on the future requirements, but there is still a gap between the dream of the engineers and the reality on the field. And the question is not only a technical question, it's most of the time a question of trust and psychology. However, the general trend is that we want to reduce the unnecessary exposure of humans to hazardous situations. We want to assist humans for difficult and low-value tasks. That means that robots will be part of the military environment as part of our lives. We plan to conduct several actions, either nationally or in collaboration with our European partners. Concerning our area of interest, we will continue to investigate small-sized robots for which our military people have expressed a strong interest. We will also have a look to patrol robots for the surveillance of areas. Next slide. We will continue to work on teleoperated kits for vehicle in military convoy when they cross hazardous area over a long distance. We will pursue technology watch on exoskeleton, but we still have some doubts on whether it's an actually promising idea or not. We want to launch in 2009 a competition in robotics to foster innovative concepts, especially in the following directions. First one, moving in complex environment, then operational situation assessment, then mission speed, possibly to use cooperative robots, and decisional autonomy. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we have launched cooperation project with our European partners. You can see on this slide 3 projects in robotics. The last one is already ongoing, and the 2 first are about to be launched. And all these 3 projects are conducted by the European Defence Agency. Next slide. Another question that is very important for us now is the question of reduction of energy dependency. Despite the current decrease of the oil price, for technical and conjunctural reasons, we all know that fossil fuel will become scarce in the future and that we need to anticipate this situation for our army forces. We have decided with our UK partner to launch an initiative on this important issue. We expect SMEs and labs to propose interesting ideas and concepts. We have not yet defined the final scope of this program, but will certainly start with the land sector. You can see here a few examples of topics we might consider in this collaborative program. Next slide, please. I also would like to mention an important program we have launched under the auspices of the European Defence Agency. It's related to force protection in urban environment. It was the first joint investment program of the agency. 5 capability objectives were defined at the beginning of the project, and they are described on this slide. And then these 5 capability objectives have been declined in 18 R&T goals. Nations which were interested with almost all R&T goals have decided to subscribe for the entire program. That means that they will receive the results of all resulting projects, whatever the participation of their industry in these projects. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I will now give you a quick view on a capability-driven program called Scorpion. Next slide. In the short overview I gave you a couple of minutes ago, the R&T projects presented were mainly technology pushed. Now, I would like to mention the capability-driven aspects of some of our research and technology program. I will take the example of the Scorpion initiative, which takes benefit of an ongoing TDP called BOA. Scorpion is a collaborative effort between the Army, the Joint Staff, and the DGA Procurement Agency. The aim is to transform the current land forces and to have them fully adapted to the new context from now until 2020. Scorpion aims at improving battlefield mobility on the ground, combined with greater protection and network-enabled capabilities. Scorpion addresses both the transformation of the combat capability and the procurement process, including the management of all the concerned operations. DGA wants to buy capability rather than simply order equipment. An option is to seek for companies' commitment on the delivery of that capability, taking into account the whole life cycle costs, including maintenance and spare parts. Next slide. Scorpion is conceived as a system of systems, encompassing tanks, weapon systems, armored personnel carriers, evolution of the Tiger attack helicopter, etc., and includes battlefield management system from the highest level of command down to the soldier. To some extent, its goal could be compared with the US program FCS goal, but of course, if the scale is slightly different. Next slide. Scorpion is intended to run through 2020. Some incremental capability levels have already been defined. An assessment phase is already ongoing since 2005 with the BOA TDP. BOA addresses the improvement of land combat capability based on the networking of the actors, the use of robotics, and C4I star assets. BOA has been conceived as a system-of-system approach dedicated to the land combat, including tools and the associated metrics. BOA takes into account the requirements and scenario from Scorpion and evaluates the different possible architectures. These results contribute to de-risking of Scorpion and provide food for thoughts for the decision makers. The other way around, from these architectures are derived the requirements for the new technological studies that have to be addressed by the BOA TDP. As a conclusion, I would like to say that BOA and Scorpion project illustrates two of our key drivers concerning research and technology. The first one, as mentioned, is joyness, because the research and technology dedicated to BOA and Scorpion take benefit of all studies throughout the 11 technical expertise domains that I have shown at the beginning of my presentations. For instance, it will integrate the best of all studies concerning comms, sensors, weapons, navigations, etc. The second driver is the acceleration of transition between the labs and the warfighter. It's a phased project with incremental fielding. The purpose is to deliver for each increment the best of technology and to put it without waiting on the field. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.